I've completed this 3 by 4 foot N scale layout, and it's time to power the track. And when you're deciding where to power a track, the first thing you have to realize is for this layout, it's so small, it only needs to be powered in one place. However, I am going to power it in one extra place, and let me tell you why. I'm placing the power up here because this is the close edge. This is the front of the layout. The turnout you see here goes back to a siding where the re-railer is, so that you can put your cars and locomotives on the track and then bring them out onto the layout. So I put a positive here and a negative here. It really doesn't matter which one it is. It'll just make a difference on your polarity reverse on your controller. But I'm also going to put power right here, and it will be the same polarity as that one over there. And the reason is the power here comes through here all the way through the point, and it goes back the other way around and around and comes back up through here and runs down here. So this particular rail, by powering here, powers every piece of rail on that side of the rail line. But the power on this side, it goes out this way, goes around, comes back, and comes right back in here. So how do we get power to this rail? We pick it up with the points here. Take the power out when they're going through, and when you want power to that line, the point has to pick it up and bring it down. Well, I don't like to rely on points because points get dirty, points don't always function right, points get bent. So I want to power that line also. And that way, all of the lines have power everywhere all the time, unless, of course, one of your solder in your rails breaks, in which case you will lose power. Okay, so to begin with, I'm going to get my wire. Now, again, with a small one, there's not a lot of concern on the size of the wire. This is 20 gauge wire, and that's what I'm going to use because it's convenient. It could be smaller, it could be bigger, but this is sufficient for a track that's only, about 25 feet long. So that's all I'm going to need, and I have one red and one black. And to power it, I'm going to drill holes here, here, and here. You can use a 1/8. I happen to have a 7/64. It's just a little smaller. It'll still allow the wire to pass, but it fits a little better in between my I move the camera. Okay, so let's drill through. And let's not get in our way too much. I'll move this back over here. All right. So now that we have the access for our wire, we're going to cut off a piece to use. And again, how long you want to make the wire is up to you. I'm making this one to sell, so whoever buys it can make the wire longer if they want it. So I have one wire that'll pass down the hole as soon as I find it. Goodness. It's got to be here somewhere. There it is. Okay. And we'll pass that through. And we'll get a piece of black wire at the same length. And pass it through. And another piece of red wire. Now this one is going to be short because I'm just going to join it to this wire. But we'll make it a little bit longer than we need just so that it's easier to work with. So cut those. Put this one in here. Okay. Now I've already stripped the ends of these two. Let me strip this one. Twist them together a little bit. And now I'm going to put some solder on the end of each one before I attach it to the track. Get my soldering iron. Right, once your soldering iron is hot, we'll get some, I like to use paste flux. I use paste flux because it stays where I put it, and I know it's there because I can see it. Just makes things easier for me. All right. Let's check my tip. Okay. And put some solder on the end of each one. This is stranded wire, so everything will be easier if the strands are all together. And it will make, when we get ready to solder it to the rail, that will be easier too. Okay. So I'll go ahead and work from this one back. So I'll just pull this down and let me grab a pair of needle nose, and I'm going to bend this over. Create a little bend in it, and pull it down, maybe a little long. I'm going to be holding the soldering iron in one hand and the solder in another, so I'm not going to have an extra hand. So this needs to hold itself in place. Just bring it down. You can see it's now in between the ties and it's up tight against the rail. We'll put a little flux in, like that. Try to get in and get out as quickly as you can, because you don't want to melt your ties. So let me bring this over here. Okay, when you get some on top of the rail, just run your soldering iron over it like that. And we can come back later if there are any problems there. We'll take care of it with a file. But it is just that easy. Bend this one the other way. And again, it might be a little too long. I'll judge from the others. One. And we'll pull it through. Grab the right one. Maybe a little shorter. As you can see, I like to work by trial and error. Okay, nice tight fit. Flux. And come back in. All right. And I will continue to do this one, and then we're going to flip the whole thing over and we'll work on the other side. We're on the underside now, and if you remember, there's our negative lead, here's our positive, going to two different rails, and I want to join them. And about the simplest way I know of to do that is I'm going to use my wire strippers, and I'm just going to peel back. You see how I made that area come back there, and then we'll strip this. And wrap it around like that. Put a little flux on it. And then we'll reach in and solder just to make sure it stays there. Just a little tip on care of your soldering iron. Once you unplug it, you should always have a wet rag at all times. And while it's drying, keep washing it because you want it nice and bright and shiny when you put it away. If it's not shining up for you, this is a Salomoniac block I got on eBay for, I don't know what, $6, $8. And as you can see, you just run your tip in there. And you can also put some solder on it while it's in there. Be wary of the fumes, the directions say. But you always want to put your tip away bright and shiny. I've been using this same tip for, 7 years now. The one I had before, it didn't last 6 months because I wasn't careful with it, and eventually the heat ate it away because I didn't have the tin to protect it. So treat your tip right because they can get expensive. And now, if we have that done, let's cut off this excess. You can wrap that with electrician's tape, or you can use liquid tape, or you can just put glue on it. But you can go ahead and wrap these pieces together. And I think I will just glue it up here, and the glue will protect the join. And I'll strip my ends. And I'm ready to connect my controller and to test my track. And that is all there is to it. I hope this was helpful. Bye.